tummy pillow.
I know. It's like a comfort.
Protected.
It's like a comfort cushion.
I remember when I recorded that episode with Kate, and I was still like pretty fresh postpartum, and I was like, I had this leg up, and then I had all this extra skin like folded over my cheeks.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
Just like, okay, never again, never ever again.
Okay, my friend had such an interest. She told me this like really interesting theory the other night. She was like, what if after you have multiple C-sections, or even just like one C-section, the reason people have like a shelf or like a pooch of any kind is like our body's way of trying to protect that area that had like a major wound. And I was like, that is so interesting. That makes me want to like go home and tell my body it's safe. Like,
I know.
it's safe. It's okay. We're not going to get sliced open like unknowingly. But
no, I still have such a hard time with that. My scar this time is so different than it was with Noah.
Is it? How come?
Well, it's bigger.
Well, isn't the T is only on your uterus, so you can't see that from the outside?
No. They cut over my incision poorly, and then they extended it up on that one side, on that right side.
So that's external.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just seems darker at 8 months postpartum than it did when I was pregnant with Noah, and my stomach went like so flat. After I had Noah, and I'm just having, and maybe it's just my age. I'm 30.
I think you look
31.
great. I think you look great.
Yeah, well, you haven't seen me naked.
Oh, did you just say you're 38?
No, I'm 31. I said, wait, I had to do the math because like it's 2024. I was born in 1992. I'll be 32 in September. I'm 31 right now. It took me a minute to get there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was like interesting, but
welcome back to the Motherhood Collective Co.
Hi.
We are doing the marriage Q&A. So we planned on releasing this episode right after we did our Improving Marriage After Kids episode, but then I got sick. So we released another episode, and now we're circling back to that episode. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to that episode, you should. Yeah. And we're going to answer your guys' questions and give your comments, because we asked you guys on our Instagram page to tell us what you wanted to add to the episode or ask questions. Both.
Mm-hmm. Let's just like answer some kind of icebreaker first.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
No, I don't.
I was thinking about that. I was like, we should like open with like just a fun random question.
What kind of icebreaker question? Also, I hope after our marriage episode, you guys had a great Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And that intimacy was fun and lighthearted and easy.
Yeah.
I hope that was good for everybody.
I don't know. Maybe like, what is your biggest like mom win and mom fail of the week?
Let's just do that every episode. That's great.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah, it just came to me.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. You go first.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Okay, well, my biggest mom fail came to mind immediately because it happened today. I hit Sunny in the face with a weight.
Oh,
I was working out. I was doing like bent over like rows, and she walked up behind me, and I just like hit her in the face.
She bruised?
And that was so sad. Actually, no. Good. She has plenty of other bruises because she like ran into the countertop corner. She has a black eye right now and just stuff like that. But no, we did ice, but I felt horrible. That hasn't happened very often where like I physically hurt my kids on accident, but it's awful.
Yeah,
it's awful. You're like, how do you like make sure they know that that was not intentional? Like, it was so sad. And it was like my last rep too, so I feel like I was like really just like yanking the weights up. Yeah. It was so sad. Aww. Mom win. I feel like I just think the way that like Sunny has been speaking about the Lord, I feel like I could just be having such a bad day, and I just know that she knows him because of the things she sees in her dreams and the way that she describes angels in her room and you know, how quickly she asks me to pray. That was also just like heartbreaking after I hurt her. She's like, can you pray to Jesus for healing? And like, she's such a sweet girl. Like I'm like, even just being a fly on the wall when she's around Ledger, she just is so sweet to him. Like I was in the shower and she didn't know that I was watching her. And I was taking like a full shower today because we're traveling tomorrow. So I wanted to shave. I wanted to like scrub my hair, you know, all of it. And Ledger was not having it. He was so upset. And I like peeked my head around a little bit because he kind of like started settling down. And she had ran into my closet and she had picked out one of his toys and a pacifier. He does not take pacifiers. And she started putting the pacifier in his mouth and was rocking his little bouncer, kissing him on the head, all this stuff where I'm just like, you don't even know you're being watched right now. And you're just genuinely this sweet of a little girl, you know?
Yeah.
And I just think anytime that happens, I'm like, okay, we're doing something right. Even though sometimes it's easier to be like, okay, we're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
You know? What about you?
My mom fail happened like literally 4 hours ago. So Noah is also a very good older sibling, but he is not gentle. So I have to watch him because he's the play make you happy.
Totally.
Like if I tell Noah like, can you go make Lily happy? Like she's gonna be giggling in the other room because he's like fake laughing or dancing or making goofy faces or whatever. So he's like constantly trying to get her to laugh. Well, today we were gonna go on a walk when I got back from the DMV, and which was not a fun experience.
Never.
I had to take a photo for my license. I had a mom bun on the top of my head. I did not know I was gonna have to take a photo because I lost my license. I thought
You're
they
like,
would just order me a new
carry the
one.
picture over.
The lady was so nice. I'm like, oh, I have to take a picture, and she like laughed. She's like, yeah, because I had just got my lashes done, no makeup on.
Yeah.
My hair is in a mom bun, so I don't know if that's a mom fail, but that's definitely a fail.
That is so funny.
But I was trying to get them out the door because I had just made the dough for buns for burgers, and they needed to proof for like an hour before, like, as a whole, before I split them all up and they proofed for the second rise. So I'm like, okay, we got an hour. Let's go. Let's walk around the subdivision. It's so nice. And I was like, not yelling, but Noah, let's go, let's go. Like I was yelling, but not mean. Like I was trying to get his attention. He was in the schoolroom and I was in the mud room. Like, Noah, let's go. Thinking he was just going to come and then I would go grab Lily. Yeah. No, he grabs Lily and proceeds to run down the hallway.
Oh no.
Poor kid is in socks. He tripped and fell.
Oh no.
Lily's face smacked into the legs of our bar stools.
Oh.
You should see her. She's got a whole stripe right here, had a big fat bloody lip.
Oh.
And then Noah was really upset with himself. And I just felt like, okay, I should have been more specific in what I wanted. To not taking my eyes off.
Right. I know.
Because that happens a lot where Noah is excited about something and then Lily ends up crying. I think mom win. I don't know. I'm not that introspective right now, but we did a lot of walks outside. And because we moved into this house 2 weeks before I had Lily, maybe it was 3. And it was such a new construction zone that whole summer we didn't walk outside really.
True, yeah.
Because it's just mud to look at and a lot of construction workers, and that's just not what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it was winter, so then it's been nice. So this last week I've made sure we've been outside like 2 hours on a walk every day. Yeah. And we went to the lake and walked, or we've been walking around the subdivision. And it's been really good because it's starting to feel like, okay, this is home now.
Totally.
8 months later, 9 months later.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my win for the week.
Yeah. You're really good about getting out and about and doing stuff.
Yeah, but we're still at home. So it's foreign to me because I've also been tracking my spending all month.
Oh, wow.
Because like I think I got a little out of hand. And, you know, I paid our credit card bill last month and I'm like, okay, I don't understand where this is all coming. So every time I've swiped my credit card or bought something online, I've been like tracking it in my notes app, like what it was.
Yeah.
Because you can always go back and look at your transactions, but then you're like, well, what was that?
What? Yeah, totally.
So I've been more mindful. I haven't done a single like random Target trip this year. I don't even think I've walked into Target in February. I've just done online
That's
orders.
really good. I know. I have not done any of that. I did just like, I guess that's a mom win. I feel like this week is the first week that I've physically gone somewhere with both kids and I've gotten them out of the car and we've gone in somewhere. This sounds so ridiculous, but all I've ever done with them is like, if it's not a drive-through or a pickup order or something that they can stay in the car for, I'm not going while they're with me. Because it just was like so overwhelming, the idea of loading them up and unloading them and where do they go and all this stuff. And so the other day we went to World Market. We went to Trader Joe's, and we went to the bakery as well. And I was like, I could keep Ledger in his car seat, and
the
I can.
Bakery right next door to Trader Joe's.
Yeah,
my neighbor across the street owns that.
They do not.
Yeah, like literally right there.
You know what I've been getting, because I'm still not doing sugar, but I got like this sausage. It's called like a sausage garlic croissant.
Ooh.
Oh, it's so good. But I was like, you can, in most carts, you can click the infant car seats into just putting it on the top, so you still have the underneath storage area. And just holding Sunny's hand, and I'm like, okay. And I just did it a couple times, and I'm like, I can do this. This is okay. Like,
the world opens up.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, we could go to World Market. Sure, why not? We could do, and so I'm excited for that transition.
Good. I'm glad. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a good win.
So like nobody talks about how weird that transition is, where you're just like, wait, you're not just like grabbing a toddler out of a seat and holding their hand, or like physically carrying them in somewhere. It's like,
I remember I went to Panera. I remember I posted a picture of it on Instagram. And I'm like, we did it. Lily was, I think, 4 weeks old. And that was wild. But like I had mine and Noah's normal is getting out of the house. Like we don't stay in the house. So I had to go.
Yeah, that's where Sunny and I are complete opposites of you guys. We're like such homebodies. But anyways, thanks for listening to all that shenanigans.
Back to our regularly scheduled content.
Some of these, I'll just call y'all out. Some of these were answered in our episode, right?
Yeah.
But maybe not to the extent you wanted, which is understandable. We kind of just like skim over things sometimes when we don't have, all the time. But we'll dive back into some of this stuff. How to be present with my husband when I'm so worried about leaving my baby. I hate leaving her.
Don't leave her. You can be present with your husband and not leave your baby. I think that our society is so bad about telling moms that their life is going to be ruined if they don't get their baby to be independent. If they're not sleeping independently, if they're not able to stay with the sitter. When if you look at like all of our ancestors and like just biologically human beings or any other mammal, we stay together. I think it's okay. It's okay if you do want to leave your baby and go on a date. That's not what I'm saying. But it is okay if you don't want to leave your baby and go on a date. I don't want to leave Lily. So like all of our date nights are going to be planned around what can we do with Lily being present. And I think that's okay. And then at that point, I feel like I'm more able to be present with my husband. Because if she's gone, I'm just freaking out the whole time.
That's what I was kind of thinking too, is like, are we talking mentally present or physically present? Because I feel like I'm the same way. I'm only going to be mentally present if my baby is with me. Yeah. I've never left him, and I didn't with Sunny, with anybody for a really long time. And so we went on a date on Valentine's Day, and my parents came over and they watched Sunny, and we brought Ledger out to a really nice restaurant, and like we had a really good conversation. I don't even remember a single moment where I felt like, oh, this isn't working because we have a baby. It's like we put his car seat on top of the table and we were eating steaks, and like the servers were stopping by and saying hi to him, but like we still got to talk. I just think, expectations are a bit adjusted where you're not really like, it's not going to be uninterrupted, but that doesn't mean you can't be present. Yeah.
And it's just a short season of time. And as they get older, because I think the first time we left Noah, he was like 18 months old. So, but during that time, there comes a point in time where your baby starts to go to sleep around a normal like bedtime, right? They start to get on their own schedule. Like right now, Lily's tired at 7:30 when Noah goes to bed. So I put her down in her room. Most nights she stays asleep until I go get her. Some nights that's not it. But like this weekend, Brady and I get very little time together. He worked all day. I was gone most of the day today. And then he had to go set up whatever downtown. And then tomorrow he's going to be working all day. So today's Friday, tomorrow's Saturday for, we release this on Monday. But, and then Sunday's really our only day. So I told him like, we need to be really intentional with the time that we do have. So after you leave, I'm going to put Lily down in her room and we're going to do a little date night. Yeah. And we did that with Noah all the time. And you can make your date nights at home special. We talked about that in the episode, but like we were really big into games when Noah was like around, a year to 18 months. We loved those escape room games.
I know. Those are so fun. We love escape rooms.
Yeah. So you can get like fun things. Yeah. Fun little drinks, fun movies. Like you can do fun things at home while your baby's asleep upstairs, if that's a problem. If you are getting pressure from your husband or you're feeling the pressure, like you need to leave your baby for a date, then just practice like your normal run-of-the-mill being present exercises. Like, what are all of your five senses feeling right now in this moment, to try to distract you from the anxiety of leaving your baby? Like, if you know your baby's safe and you're really wanting to do a date night, like, what are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? And like, just really observe your husband and just try to be present. But
yeah. And like, you could put your baby in a stroller and you could go to a bakery or a coffee shop and grab something and like go on a long walk, even in the middle of the day. I don't know if everybody's babies are like this, but mine would just fall asleep in their stroller if they're in there for long enough. So take advantage of nap time. Chase and I have put both kids in the car and driven till they fallen asleep, and then we park, we get a coffee, and we talk, or we go visit our house, or just kind of, try to tailor it to the season of life you're in. But how can we work together to like what's going to make us both feel the most present, I think is important. I love when my kids are with us. I also love when they're asleep and with us. I also love when like we're out with just Ledger. So I don't know, you just have to kind of determine what is I think the most relaxing for you.
Yeah, what's going to work.
Yeah. But try not to put too much pressure on it, because I think like the minute we start thinking I should be doing something, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, but you don't feel like you're ready to be doing that, it's just this endless cycle of guilt and frustration and why can't I be like other people? And I just think you're really not alone.
No, and I remember, because Lily is 8 months. She's almost 9 months, right?
What?
Well,
No.
On March 7th. So she's 8.5 months.
Wow.
I know. And at this point in time with Brady, I was freaking out because I still couldn't leave
She's
Noah.
almost 9 months.
I know.
Wait, I'm not past that.
You're still processing. I know. And she's like,
that's insane.
She's walking with things now.
That's
she's
insane.
like holding onto things and pushing them and like walking. Which is
9 months is when Sunny started walking. It's like they're a full blown. They're not like a tiny baby anymore. No, 9 months is like
almost
everything
into
changes. Oh, totally.
But when Noah was Lily's age, I was having serious anxiety about the fact that I couldn't leave him. We weren't going on dates. Like, is my marriage going to fall into shambles? This time around, I'm like, quote, 9 months went by so freaking fast. I'm not ready to go on dates yet. Brady and I are not stressing. We're totally connecting in the time that we do have. We've gotten a lot better at time management though. And like actually making the time we have count because he's so busy all the time. But I do think like having perspective of like, okay, this phase does end and it has so many amazing parts to it that I kind of don't want it to end.
I know.
Like, I'll handle the at-home date nights for as long as I can if it means that this baby wants to sleep on my chest.
I totally agree. And maybe I'm just generally a more nostalgic person than most, but I can't help but think that someday we'll look back and be like, don't you miss when we would have those date nights at home and we'd get interrupted by like tiny feet pitter pattering down the hallway, and then we'd put them back to bed, and then it'd be me and you again, and the sink was full of dishes, and then you're kind of like reflecting someday being like, and now we have all the time in the world. And I know we've talked about this before, and it's like you shouldn't just ignore your marriage hoping that someday you have the time for it, but there's a sweetness to this season, and it's kind of like, let's laugh about it, let's embrace it, let's just kind of do our best. And I think the options are endless. I really do. I think when we stop making it so conventional of like, we need to find a babysitter and go out, I think it opens up such a plethora of options that could feel a lot more comfortable for you.
I agree. We used to like go around and drive and look at houses.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
We would get a drink and like just drive around.
Love that.
Noah fall asleep in the car. And we'd just like look at houses.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Why not? I know. Driving is so fun. There's something about driving where you can like, I don't know. It's just your humans that you're responsible for are all contained and safe. Yes. And there's just something really relaxing about it.
It's nice.
When I became a mother, my personality changed and I had to learn how to be a new person.
Yes. My personality 100% changed. I went from boss babe, opening my own practice, gonna work forever, kids in daycare.
Your personality must have changed so much that I would not recognize you if you were that person. Like the way you describe that person, I'm like,
I know.
oh my, I could never.
So I had that too. And
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I'm lucky because Brady just fell in love with that person even more than he was in love with the person I was before I had kids. Like he gave me the best compliment the other night. We were sitting down. I had just put Lily down and then she woke up. So I brought her down with us and I was just breastfeeding her on the couch. I'm like, okay, well, let's just watch a movie or something since she's just going to be here. and he like looked at me and he goes, you love what you do so much. Like I can just tell you are so fulfilled and it is so attractive. And I was just like, oh, thank you. I really needed that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you do. I think becoming a mother has the potential to completely change who you are for the better. Because you're like stepping in to a calling given by God and a calling that women for thousands of years have had to step into.
Yeah.
And you do kind of have to get to know yourself, which can be weird when you're married. I think we went through that, Brady and I.
I remember my parents always saying that, where they were like, the version of your mother or the version of your father that I married is someone I would not even recognize now, because you change. Like we as people, that's just what happens. You, whether you're encountering trauma or you're encountering joy or you're just turning another year older, there's all these different factors that can just kind of like chip away at us until we are just completely unrecognizable to what we used to be. And hopefully it's for the good, right? That's always the hope. But you change over time. I'm trying to pinpoint. I don't know if I've changed. I'd have to ask Chase, honestly, and this is bizarre because I feel like I'm generally very self-aware, but I'm just trying to think of what I would have changed.
I think it's just like a natural evolution where maybe you don't have to think so hard about it.
I think it's weird because I feel like maybe I've always been very sensitive, but I think I've gotten a little bit more sensitive maybe since being a mom. Everything feels like a really big deal to me. Like if somebody can't come to my daughter's birthday party, I'm like a wreck. I think it's just more so like the externalization of my sensitivity kind of pouring out to my kids, where I'm like beckoning and begging people to love them and care about them the way that I do. Yeah. And I think that can feel really hurtful and exhausting sometimes because, we obviously love our kids more than anybody else ever could besides the Lord. But you kind of get, at least I do, sometimes stuck in this cycle of like, does anybody care about them the way that I do? And does anyone know how wonderful they are? And does anyone want to recognize like how sweet they are? And you just I've found myself kind of yearning, and this is, I guess, not a good thing. I don't know, kind of yearning for more of a like outsider affirmation on my kids.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, or I've at least commented on it, because I felt that after Noah. I was born from teenagers. My parents were children when they had me. So I grew up with like 1,000 aunts and uncles because it was all their high school friends. And they were very involved in my life. Like, I'm not even joking. I can name like 10 just like right off the top of my head. And I had like so many grandparents because my grandma, my parents' great grandparents were still alive. So I was born with great grandparents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had so many people in my circle that, and as I aged, they kind of started falling away. Great grandparents pass away.
Yeah.
Great grandparents pass away. Aunts and uncles. Aunts and uncles. I say the quotations. They were my mom's best friends. They all had their own kids and they fell away.
Yeah.
And then it felt, I don't know. I don't want to say this and sound ungrateful or mean, but I didn't have a very strong like connection to my main family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I moved to Colorado, and all of Brady's family lived here when I moved here, and now 2 of his siblings have moved away with their families, and I went through this hard time. And then my best friend moved away. She was my employee and she moved away, and she loved Noah so much. And it hurt me to my core to lose someone who loved my child. And I had these talks with my husband over and over and over, like, who's going to love him? Who's going to love him? He's like, we will. Brady grew up where it was just his family. And they were constantly moving for his dad's business, and they didn't have family around. And he's like, and I'm not lacking anything. He's like, I had such a strong closeness, a strong bond to each my mom and my dad. And that is all that matters. And so he like reassured me, like, he's got me and you. He doesn't
Yeah.
need anybody else. Everybody else
I
is a
know.
bonus.
Yeah.
And it was like so comforting, and I've kind of relaxed on that a bit, but I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because you want other people to love your child.
Yeah. And I especially like what you said, we're pouring our lives out. I actually like I had a full blown meltdown the other night. And one of the things I was telling Chase is like, I'm dedicating my life here to this space, to these kids. And I think, and you guys, if you've listened to our podcast regularly, Amanda knows this. I'm just in this season right now where I'm like, why do I feel like I'm not getting any, and why is this bothering me so much that I'm not getting any recognition for how hard I'm working, and what I feel like I'm doing is a good job, but I'm not hearing that from anybody. And that sounds so millennial of me, because it's like, we like need that so badly. And I've never been that kind of person. So I don't know where this is really coming from. Cause Chase will, like I said, he sings my praises all day, but I don't know. And I get stuck in these kind of resentment cycles where I'm like, why doesn't so-and-so ever want to like come over and be with my kids? Or why don't they ask for a picture? Like they've never even met my kids. Or, you start kind of thinking this way, and you're like, and you know how much you love your kids. And then I get stuck in these cycles, and it bothers me, because then I'm like, well, I'll enjoy my kids, but it's not really like the way you're saying it, which is like pure and lovely. I'm like, I'll just keep them to myself then, because nobody cares like I do, so that's been bothering me. That's a side of me I don't necessarily recognize outside of being a mom. So yeah, I think that is normal, because it's a major life change. And we kind of referred to this in one of our last episodes about when you encounter these major life moments, whether you're moving or starting a job or quitting a job or losing a child or birthing a child, or, all sorts of things. Your personality can change. So yeah, hold yourself with grace and love. Finding time for sex. Did we talk about that?
I mean, we've talked about it. I don't know if that was a main topic in that episode. We talked about it a lot in our bed sharing. I mean,
the short answer is the time is never going to fall into your lap.
No, not when you're a parent. And the more kids you have, the less it's going to be spontaneous. Like, yeah. I don't know. I communicate to Brady, like, if you want sex, you're going to have to foreplay me all day long. Mm-hmm. So like all day long, I'm getting kisses every time he walks through the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And he does that. He's great. Yeah. And then I know, okay, I've got to live up to what I said tonight.
I know. I feel like the more that you like think about it in your head throughout the day, and you don't change your thoughts from, oh, I wonder if we're going to do this tonight, to we are, and how can I prepare my mind and my heart and my body or whatever else. And let's be honest too, like the time, I'm not trying to be sassy, but like sex does not take an abundant amount of time. No. It's all of the forthright, thinking about it, and all the preconceived, this is going to take time, this is going to take energy, I'd rather do X, Y, and Z. It's just, I think they're just avoidance mechanisms, because when you really break it down, it's like, but do you have 20, 30 minutes? Do you have whatever, to like have an enjoyable experience? Are you already going to go take a shower? Yeah. Just ask your husband to come take a shower with you. Were you already going to whatever, like fill in the blank, and just try not to let time, I don't know if time, but it's hard when your baby, like, I don't know. It's hard when your baby needs support to sleep, and when they need like,
I can't tell you how many times Lily's been asleep on our bed and we're just on the floor. I mean,
yeah,
that's our life right now. That's what it is. I have a nice soft blanket.
Right. I know.
But like, we just steal the minutes that we have.
Yeah.
And it is so valid. It is so valid that your brain's going to come up with like roadblocks, because you're touched out. Your hormones aren't supporting a healthy sex drive. You've just went through, I don't care how peaceful your birth was, there's some sense of trauma to something either being cut out of you or birthed through your vaginal canal.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, you have to have time to process that. And I get it. And I know I've said this like 3 times on our podcast, but make sure you're orgasming every time you have sex. And then the thought of sex will be easier if it's hard for you. Now, it's not hard for everybody. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, motherhood means sex is going to be bad, because that's not it at all. In fact, mine and Brady's sex life got so much better after we became parents. So that's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying, if you are having those roadblocks, knowing that you are going to have an orgasm at the end of sex makes it way easier for you to say, okay, you got 20 minutes. I'm going to shift my brain to this mode versus mom mode and let's just go.
Yeah.
So buy a nice vibrator.
And honestly, I feel like the benefits psychologically, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, like if you start kind of like diving into even some of the research behind sex and the prevention of long-term disease. I read this article on that the other day. Did you know that the more you have sex, the more like the less likely you are to encounter disease that leads to death? And it's obviously because cortisol is one of the leading causes of disease, right? And this is one of the ways that our body can reduce and flush out excess cortisol that's just building up all day when you're a mom, you know? I feel like anytime you're responsible for a being outside of yourself for long periods of time, even if that it was a good day, at least for me, I'm still in this state of heightened protection, heightened awareness, heightened senses.
It's a lot.
There's a running short-term and long-term to-do list in my brain, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I texted Chase, I was driving over here and he was like, are you feeling better? Because we've just had a crazy week and we're leaving tomorrow for 8 days. And then the day after we get home, we're like taking pictures to list our house. And then we need to leave again for another 3 days so that they can show our house. And then we're moved. Like it's this whole thing. And he was like, he's been trying really hard to like take things off my plate and help me. And he's like, are you feeling any better? And I'm like, I don't know. My shoulders are tight and my jaw is clenched. So that tells me my body doesn't feel any better, but like I'm getting there. So I don't know if you're a research person like me, that might help you even like see the benefit of it beyond improving your marriage, because obviously that's important for your marriage. If you need a little like kick in the gut to take care of yourself.
But back, you know, the questions like, where do you find the time? Just don't put so much pressure on what it needs to look like. It can be on the floor of your bedroom while your baby's asleep in the bed. Like, that really is okay.
Yeah.
It can be downstairs on the couch. It can be, you know, whatever little moments you have.
Yeah.
And just make it work.
And we have to like somehow make it as important in our brains as the laundry and our sleep and all the other things that you're trying to kind of fill in the blanks with that same time.
Yeah, agree.
So, that's pretty similar. Intimacy when your baby will only sleep on you, or close proximity. We co-sleep with our first, and now having a second, and coordinating intimacy has been really difficult. I think we've talked about this a lot with co-sleeping.
We have. Go back and listen to some of our bed sharing episodes. And again,
wait, you whispered that.
What? I did.
You got all quiet when you said bed sharing.
Well, because I had to think about what did we call it? Because we call it co-sleeping, bed sharing, whatever.
Yeah,
I think it was our bed sharing.
If your baby's in your bed, it's considered bed sharing. Because
I
guess co-sleeping could mean your baby's just in your room.
Yeah, but like just do what I do and do it on the floor. Eventually, you'll have your bed back.
Or a different room.
Yeah. But like I get like sometimes.
And if your baby, it's hard though. Like if your baby wakes up,
yeah.
Like, could you put them in a bouncer and go in another room before you put them down for bed?
Yeah.
You know, like Ledger will chill in his bouncer for endless amounts of time. He loves that thing. So I don't know if you can like that's my key. Like put him in there and then I can go do this and this and this and this and that. And I don't know if you like have a safe place that you can put your baby while they're still content and they're not overtired and they haven't started the bedtime process yet.
But if they're like really little because there was a lot of time where Lily literally needed to have my boob in her mouth to sleep.
Oh, that's
and I
Ledger,
just wasn't having sex at that point in time. It just wasn't, we were not very active then. And that's just what it was. And I knew in my head, because I've done this before, this is so temporary. It's going to be okay. Brady and I were finding other ways to connect. There was lots of cuddling. There was lots of other things, but just give yourself some time. I don't know how old that baby is. It's a season
and like you have nothing to prove. Yeah. And you guys are probably both feeling the weight of having a young baby or the transition from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
And just keep reminding each other that this is a season and this will pass and there's good here. And, I don't know, because that like kind of reminds me of what we were just saying about date nights. It's like the minute that we start saying we should, because all these other people are, because this person said I should, or because whatever, but you're not feeling ready in your body or your mind, or like maybe you did have a really traumatic birth or whatever it is. there needs to be space and grace for that as well. It
and
can't.
Lots of communication with your husband, open communication.
Yeah. Why doesn't my husband understand my hormones and my emotions change drastically postpartum?
Ooh.
Because he's not.
Because no one told him.
They have no conceptualizing that.
We cannot expect our husbands to know and understand our bodies when we aren't even taught to understand our bodies.
Yeah.
That is an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
It is a cliff your husband will fall off of and die on because that's unreasonable. So teach him. Do you understand your hormones and what happens? If not, I will say go back and listen to our sex ed episode because I break down your hormones, and that's like a normal monthly hormone, but like hormone cycle. But just understanding that will do you wonders because we talk a lot about the role of each hormone, and when you don't have those hormones in your body, you can educate your husband on that. But like, do you understand exactly what's going on in your body every month? And if you don't, learn. That way you can teach your husband. Yeah. And I don't know how, now if the question was, how can I get my husband to care about this? I don't know if I would have a very great answer for that. But if the question is, why doesn't my husband know? Well, it's probably because he hasn't been told, and maybe he hasn't been told in a way that's not attacking, because maybe the only time that you're thinking about it is when you guys are in an argument, or when he's saying like, why don't, he's feeling rejected and hurt, and he's coming at to you in a place of anger, and you're responding in a place of anger. Right. So when it's calm, when you're in a good, like, connected state, like, hey, I'd really like to tell you a little bit about what's going on in my body, so that we both have like firmer ground to stand on.
Totally. And that episode that we recorded last Valentine's Day had a lot of information in there about hormones. What I also think is I think that this can be the growth or the detriment of a lot of marriages is we cannot, and you kind of said this, but we cannot expect each other to understand the load emotionally, mentally, or physically that the other is carrying, and that they are called to carry. And I find it interesting that, our cross as women that we're called to bear, bearing children, raising children, and the cross that men are to bear is providing for their families and working. And the minute that one of us or both of us try to go back and forth and say, but you don't understand, I have it harder, no, I have it harder, that, and I'm not saying this person is or isn't doing that, it just sparked my thought process behind, we have to, there's an aspect of being a woman and being a mother that we have to bear it, and we have to carry it and do the best that we can without the expectation that our husband will ever understand. Yeah. Because my husband's never going to understand what it feels like to physically lose a baby from my own body. No. Right. But that was one of the biggest problems or hurdles that we had to come across, was after my first miscarriage, and then even after my second one, I could not understand why he didn't understand the gravity of what I was feeling. He was sad. He cried. He was heartbroken, but it wasn't to the extent that I felt.
Yeah, it wasn't like a
in my own body,
soul changing.
Yeah. He doesn't feel the loss with him most days like I do, or like remember that in his body. How could he? No. And so now that I'm in a healthier place, it's like, how could he? He wasn't the one that sat there and peed on a stick and found out that he was pregnant. He wasn't the one that connected with his baby and had all these hormones pumping through his body. And he wasn't the one that had to bleed out and see all the things that I saw, and try to give your husband the benefit of the doubt in that sense of like, but also I will never understand what it feels like to carry the expectation and the weight of providing for my family on my shoulders with my own business that I am solely in charge of. And if I do something wrong, we don't have a safety net. Yeah. I don't know what that feels like. And so I just think sometimes perspective is helpful, right? Because being a woman is hard and being a man is hard, and both of our roles are hard in their own ways. Yeah.
I agree.
I just think about that a lot of like, I try so hard to get him to understand certain things, and then I'm like, you don't, and that's okay. You don't understand what it's like to nurse a baby for 2 years and feel like irked by anyone wanting to touch you.
No,
you know,
doesn't. And I think we live in a society that, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this.
Say it. Say it.
Feminists have like really made it to where women want to be men or are put in men's roles, where women are providers, where we are like equaled out so much that we have lost the appreciation of how different we actually are.
Yeah.
Like when Brady and I got married, because I grew up, both of my parents were working. My mom made most of the money. And that was a big problem. Like there was tension with my parents because of that. And so I just saw like, oh, my mom went out, made her own money, and we got to go do, like, I was a cheerleader, and, you know, if my mom wanted to shop, she went shopping. You know what I mean? Like we did the things because my mom made money. So I grew up thinking, well, I'm going to make my own money. I'm never going to depend on a man. I'm not doing that. Yeah. And I've said this before, Brady and I listened to that audio book when we were driving home from our honeymoon because we flew into Missouri. It's a 14-hour drive. And one of the things he said in there is like, no, actually, scientifically, men and women's brains are so different. So different.
Yeah.
So he was saying, let me teach you about each one of these things, like the nuances of a woman's brain, the nuances of a man's brain from a scientific standpoint. So you can understand this isn't me being a bigot. This isn't me being, you know, I don't know, putting women down. This is just literally how God created us each. And we are both so different. We think different. We operate different on a cellular level. And we lose appreciation for that because in today's society, it is not okay to get up and say, yeah, no, I'm a woman. I am different than a man.
Yeah.
A man actually can do this better than me. Like, how dare you say that a man is stronger than a woman? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just,
I used to feel like such a jerk because I would feel like, maybe I shouldn't say this, but like I just grew up feeling a lot more, I appreciated when a man was in the role of a leader in my life, even in a classroom, on the basketball court, in the softball fields. And any time that there was a woman in place as one of my coaches, I felt like it was so hard. Like but then I feel like the best coaches that I had were men who stepped into that role. And I just felt this like admiration and respect for them. And I'm not saying women shouldn't coach. That's why this is getting kind of messy. But like, I just think that there's something about a man in a leadership position that feels very natural, and it feels very easy to follow suit in. And I just saw that in myself, kind of like craving that even when I was younger, like growing up. It just felt so natural to me. And I just feel like we already need to be like, disclaimer, it's okay if you work. It's okay if you coach. It's okay if you're a teacher. Like, please take all this with a grain of salt. This was kind of a random tangent, but I think the bottom line is men and women are different, and we've been called to different things by our Creator. So if he designed us, he knows what we can handle and what we can't, and he knows what roles that would bring out the best in us. Yeah. Because let's be honest, we can go against God's will anytime that we want. And we could do whatever we want, right? But I think that there's something really special about what he called us to. Yeah. And I've just always been really intrigued by that. Like, what does that mean? Yeah. And back to the original question, which we veered way far off of why doesn't my husband care? And it might just be because he doesn't know. So, right? That's what we were answering. Why does, I was like, or why doesn't he know? Not why doesn't he understand? Why doesn't he understand? Because he just legit doesn't understand. Yeah. America does not teach us this stuff. And I feel like men are so much more simplistically wired than women. Like, there's this book called The Waffle Brain and the Spaghetti Brain or something like that. I'm sure everyone has heard this analogy where men have waffle brains, women have spaghetti brains, in the sense that like men have all these little compartments that they can put things in and they can remember, and they're like, oh, yep, I'm shutting the door to work right now. I'm shutting the door to home life. I'm shutting and then they can like completely go into another box and not think about any of their other boxes. The analogy that audiobook gave was like men have to physically take their record and pick it up and put it on a different record player. Like they have to physically switch tracks. It's like click into a different mode now. And, but they can't like there's so many examples. And then women, it's like a plate of spaghetti. It's like, where does one noodle end and the next begin? Like no one knows. but like it is. And that's one of Chase and I's biggest thing that we go back and forth with. Sometimes he'll be like, okay, you're kind of losing me. Like, we need to stay on topic. And I'm like, this is the same topic. And he's like, it's actually not. And I'm like, no, let me tell you. I'll backtrack all the way around my spaghetti bowl, right? And tell you how this was the same topic. But and I just think that we can either go one of two ways. We can get frustrated that the other person doesn't completely understand and they're not wired exactly like us, or we can get curious and appreciate the difference that's designed within us. But it is I do want to validate this, Mom, and say it is lonely and it's hard when you feel like the one person who should understand what you're going through doesn't.
Yeah.
And those are just physiological changes that they will never endure. But staying vulnerable and staying kind and staying soft, I think, is a really helpful tool when communicating, because I think you're right. If things are always discussed in a heated manner, there's just going to be resentment built around the topic.
Yeah, talk about it when there's connection. For sure.
Yes, totally.
For sure.
Have you guys ever taken any vitamins or supplements to help with sexual intimacy and desire?
I know that Bonafide, so I get DMs about this a lot. What's the supplement that you talk about in the sex ed episodes? Bonafide, and the suppositories Reverie. But they also sell, again, same company, Bonafide. They sell a supplement called Restella, and it is for that. I haven't taken it. And I don't know if I felt the need to, because I think I have such a deep understanding of why I'm not just like spontaneously horny right now. Like, I'm not a teenager anymore. I've got kids. I've got hormones. I've got all these things.
Right.
But like, that is a valid concern. And there are supplements for that if I felt like I needed one, I would take one. Yeah. That would be fine.
I feel like when in doubt, just like go buy a really high quality magnesium supplement, because isn't magnesium what we need in our bodies to like, it's responsible for
so much cellular function.
Yes,
like
you so many different things within your body. Yeah. I feel like if you're feeling like you need to do something, I was just at Whole Foods, and I did see I want to say the name of the brand because I can see it in my head, and Gaia maybe. Anyways, I know that like in their women's section they have supplements. I saw it there because I was looking for a postnatal supplement. And they do have supplements there for like healthy arousal in women. It's geared a lot towards like menopausal women, which technically if you're breastfeeding and you're not having a cycle, you are menopausal. Yeah. So, I think that'd be totally fine to take. Okay. Two things just came to my mind. And the only reason this came to my mind is because when Chase and I were going through miscarriage, we obviously went through the ringer of supplements. Yeah. And at one point we both noticed that like, we were a lot more like, we need to have sex. And we're like, why is that? Okay. Maca root powder and then psyllium husks. We were on like a fertility thing that I literally had just Googled because we hadn't been able to see any of the doctors yet. And we were putting psyllium husks and maca root powder into our smoothies every morning. And I think with a quick like Google search, we could confirm that both of those uptick your sexual desire, your libido. So go try those. Yeah. Sneak them into your smoothies in the morning. I don't know, outside of that was kind of like an accident that we realized like, oh, I remember at one point Chase was like, I can't take this every day unless like I'm staying home from work. Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it's not only proven to increase sexual desire, it's also showed to decrease sexual dysfunction, whatever that means.
Nice.
So there you go. You can just buy that at Sprouts. It just comes in like a powder form and you can put it in your smoothies.
Okay, next.
Oh yeah, I was looking at pictures. Okay. I mean, we've kind of answered how to find the energy for intimacy when you're touched out. We kind of talked about that. We really did. Bottom line, you're never going to feel like it. And when you have babies clinging to you all day long, it's not going to feel natural to ask for more affection from anybody. Mm-hmm. And then this one says solutions for feeling touched out and so exhausted at the end of the day.
Make sure you have a good vibrator and orgasm every time.
Yeah.
And then Brady and I also have a pact that afterwards I get 5 minutes of back scratches.
Oh,
So
afterwards.
that's nice. Yes.
Oh, not before. I
No.
like getting a back massage beforehand.
No, that will put me to sleep. So like he used to try and do that beforehand, but I'm like, bro, you're just knocking me out. This is not the way to rev me up. But like afterwards, I know I'm getting an orgasm and I'm getting scratched to sleep. So like, let's go.
I know. It's
I'm
like
touched out. I've had a hard day. Let's go.
Yeah. And then I feel like it just like resetting your nervous system to be able to just have a good night's sleep. Yeah. Amanda I feel like you had really good recommendations of all of that stuff. We keep referring to this episode, but I feel like it's so relevant.
Yeah. I think I just put it on our stories. I think it's episode 14. Oh, it's in the show notes for the intimacy and marriage episode.
Okay.
It's episode 14. Just go back. Get a vibrator. They're nice.
Yeah. I feel like, and
I will say, okay, because I have had a lot of women reach out. Like, yeah, I've been having pain with sex and all of this stuff because I talk about that in that episode. And it was something I struggled with a lot after Noah, and something I learned in pelvic floor physical therapy, because it's usually like a combination of low estrogen, pelvic floor dysfunction, a very fast way to shut down the nerves that are controlling nociception, which is pain to the vaginal canal, is to place vibration on your clitoris. So
really?
Like we have like a little bullet vibrator that I literally use just for like when this is so graphic, but like literally when it's going in, because it hurts still right now, but that will literally shut it off and I'm fine. Like literally only need it for 10 seconds.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So if you're having that problem, that was a trick I learned in pelvic floor.
Because I feel like you can't orgasm if you're in pain.
I know. But so if you're having pain when he's going in, it feels like ripping, tearing, because that's my problem after I have kids is low estrogen stuff. So vibrator to stimulate while he's going in, then you'll be fine.
Yeah. That sounds great. I mean, that's pretty much it. So if you have anything else, did someone DM us something?
Oh, yes. Okay. You're right. That just like, it's in the general. So go to general.
I kind of feel like I read something about like not being able to climax or something.
Oh, I don't know about that. Dang it. Now where is it at? And I said, I got you.
I feel like I responded to one.
Oh, my message is too long for the question box for the next episode, but I'm wanting some help setting myself up for success during immediate postpartum. I'm expecting my second baby in May. How do I show my husband what I need him to do without coming across as super needy or demanding? I almost want to make a list for him of what needs to be done daily and what I need from him. Example, laundry, dishes, toy pickup around the house, make me food, make sure I drink water. I feel like a brat writing a list, but it feels easier for him to look at the list than having to be asked when I'll be down and out with a new baby. Please do that. Please be so literal with your needs and your expectations that they cannot be missed, because that is the only way that they will be met. You cannot, we just talked about this, you cannot expect your husband to understand what it's like to look after a house and a toddler and a postpartum mom who's taking care of a baby.
Yeah.
You understand. Write it down. That's great. He will be so appreciative when he looks down and says 3:00. Okay, it's time for me to pick up the toys.
Oh my gosh. My husband loves lists. And honestly, what he did, he took, how long did he take off of work? A month?
I don't know.
I think he took a month off.
Are you asking me? I don't know.
I don't know. Tell me. I can't think right now. I think he took like a month off of work. And what he did is I wrote a list of the things that I needed going into the hospital, during labor, coming home from the hospital, my expectations for, like, I wrote down my expectations for coming home from the hospital. Sunny was with my mom, and I was like, I want to be home. I want to be settled in. I want to have already taken a shower. I want like a cold, giant water bottle. I want the dogs to have settled down, and then I want Sunny to come in. I don't want her walking into chaos. I want her coming in when it's already all calm, we're all settled, and we're ready to just snuggle and be with her. I really thought through all of it, and I'm like, how can we make this as functional as possible? Because I also knew, because for a long time he was like, oh, I'm going to take Sunny. We're going to go have all this fun. And I'm like, But then I don't want to just be at home alone with Ledger, like in a dark room, you know? And so like talking about that stuff ahead of time is so important.
Yeah.
He set little reminders on his phone throughout the day of like, okay, pick up the house. Okay, do the dishes.
Yep.
And he would do that. And I felt so much more relaxed. And I told him at the end of his paternity leave, I was like, it's so refreshing to know that the world can still function when I'm in bed.
Mm-hmm.
That just, it took this weight off my shoulders, because it's like, although he's not going to be doing that every day, he could.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just really clicked something in my brain of like, okay, when you don't feel like you're the most important person in regards to like the functioning of a household, there's just a weight off of your shoulders.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he can have his own systems, but he begs me for lists. Even now, like we're traveling tomorrow and he's like, make me a list. You know, what do you want me to take off your plate tonight? Make me a list, send it to me. You can, on your notes app, you can share a note that's like a collaboration with another person, so they can, you know, so we're all about lists and discussing expectations in our household. And I don't think either of us have ever felt like it was demanding or mean. I think if anything, maturity,
you're just helping it out.
And I also think like maturity means I'm voicing my needs and my expectations unashamedly, and I'm not waiting for somebody to read my mind. I'm not living in resentment. I'm not having all of these regrets, because I can say, hey, this is what I need. And then another healthy person can say, great, I'm so glad you said that. So
so if you are scared he's gonna think you're a brat, just preface it with that. Just like, hey, this job that I do every day, it's really hard, and you're a man. It's probably not in your wheelhouse, nor do I think it should be. So let me write all the things down that I think are going to need to happen to make it easier for you. I want to help you right now while I'm still pregnant thrive in my postpartum, so that we can connect faster, so that we can have a more peaceful,
and like painting the picture of how important postpartum is, because they don't like,
I told
that to my husband too. I'm like, I just feel like the way that you handle postpartum really sets you up for how you handle your first year of motherhood.
Your first year is postpartum, but those early postpartum days totally paint the trajectory for your whole first year.
And I also just think like, it's okay to want to be spoiled. It's okay to want to be served, because you just did something so incredible and so brave, and you're healing in more ways than one. To ask for someone to serve you that signed up to serve you is okay. Yeah. But like you said, if you have any sort of fear of how it's going to come across, it's such a good idea to just voice that up front. I do that all the time. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I do this to Amanda all the time. I'd be like, I'm sorry if this is really high maintenance. I don't want to be, but here, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. You know, like just voice what you are afraid they're going to feel. And then it's just, I feel like it clears the air.
Yeah, 100%. And you're not a brat for doing that. That's actually very smart.
You should so smart. Totally Everyone should do that.
Yeah. Do that. Let us know how it goes.
Think about like your dream situation for like labor, pregnancy, birth, whatever it is, and then invite your partner into that. Because just like we talked about earlier, they can't understand what that's like. They have no clue. So help them understand, and help them help you.
I'm just thinking about my husband right now and how much I take for granted that I don't have to explain any of that. Because like 90% of his patient base is women with children, and he like helps them through birth and pregnancy. And
I know that's like definitely a unique situation.
Anyways, sorry, I just being introspective there.
That's all that we had. I mean, a lot of them were repeats, and a lot of them we like really dove into on our last episode, but
that's okay. We are at an hour.
We always do it somehow.
All right, so next week we are releasing an episode that we recorded a few weeks ago, actually, and it is all about transitioning your baby from co-sleeping into their own bed. And when I say all about it, I mean it's mine and Jesse's experience and perspective. So
I also feel like it was a pretty quick episode, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It's a lot shorter than, I think it's like 30 minutes.
Was it?
Yeah, which is weird.
No way.
Yeah, because it was right before. It was right before we were gonna have our friends over.
Oh yeah, so we were like, let's get it done.
And Ledger was here.
Amanda was sitting.
Amanda was here.
But we will have a Q&A episode. Should we do a Q&A episode after that?
Totally.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess we'll see how much content we get. But
yeah.
I just think that co-sleeping is the biggest question box in our DMs, specifically transitioning from co-sleeping.
I know, but we were both very specific in the episodes. I don't know how many questions we'll see. If it's a
We
lot of
will
questions,
see.
we'll release another episode. If it's not, we'll just do like a Q&A on our stories.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We could
We'll hold
just
it
like
loosely.
merge it in with something else.
Yeah. All right. Well, bye. I'll see you next week.
Our intros and outros just get less and less classy. It's just like we don't did we even say welcome to the Motherhood Collective?
I did.
We just start talking.
Yeah, we were talking.
That's great.
And then I said it.
Okay.
We have intro and outro music.
I know. We don't need to do it
We
again.
don't need it. It's fine.
Okay, bye.
Bye.